Good morning, it's Shanna. We're going to do the tag collections meet decks that Candy Soul and Soil started a few weeks ago. When I first saw this tag, I didn't think I'd be able to do it because I'm not much of a collector. Growing up, my grandma was a huge collector. Figurines, porcelain things, dolls, birds, wildlife, all the things, and I was asked to dust them occasionally, which translated into my vowing to never collect things like that. So I don't really have much of a collection. However, this morning while I was dusting, just regular house dusting, I realized that I do have a collection of old books. So I thought I brought them all upstairs and laid them out and tried to match up tarot decks with them, and I did. So I was kind of pleased, actually. It's kind of a fun collection that I didn't even realize I had. I mean, I knew I had been buying them, but for the most part, the reason I bought them was for decoration on my bookshelves. So I was buying them mostly based on their color. So I could have summer type colors on the shelf, or fall type colors on the shelf, as one does. Anyway, let's get into it. I have several, so I'll just do a quick few cards of each of the decks because I feel like it might take forever otherwise. Anyway, let's get right into it. Disclaimer, I don't think I have read any of these books. Like I said, I did not buy them to read. I bought them merely for decoration. So some of these I did look up this morning because I was curious what they meant, or not what they meant, what they were about, so I could kind of try to pair a deck with them. This one is called The Puritan's Wife by Max Pemberton. And this one copyright 1896, which is crazy to me. This one's kind of a basic book. There's nothing special about it, but I thought it was really pretty for like a late summer kind of vibe on my bookshelf, where it still kind of has the green of summer, but you kind of get the little hint of fall with the orange stripes. So, and because it's called The Puritan's Wife, I decided that my Age of Witchery tarot deck would be a good fit. We're going to zoom in just a little here. There we go. I think we've all seen this. I always feel kind of weird showing decks that I've shown multiple times, but also I like seeing it when you guys do that, so I should just get over myself. But yeah, the Puritans. Was this Puritan time? I don't know. I'm really not a history buff, but that's what it made me think of, was this deck. So, yeah. The Puritan's Wife. To me, this seems very, Puritan times. If it's not, well, feel free to correct me, and I will bow down to your grand historical knowledge. And I mean that in nowhere near as sarcastic tone as it probably came across. I know some people are very into history. I'm just not one of them. So, yeah, that is Age of Witchery by Roger J. Horn. Plus, doesn't that look kind of nice together? I thought so. Next, we have this book, which is Dombey and Son by Charles Dickens. This one feels leathery. I don't know if it's leather. It doesn't really smell like leather. It smells like old library. I feel like if it was leather, it would smell. I bought this one for, I guess, kind of like a late fall going into Christmas season. I mean, this side is definitely more of a tan where it's been faded, unfortunately. But this is really pretty, kind of like a burgundy. I thought it was kind of nice for Christmas time. I think this is just a sticker that someone's added with their name. Could be wrong. It could be original part. I don't know. I have no idea. This one is very unique, I thought, in that I think this is one that doesn't have a copyright date in it, but it has this little tissue here, and then it just kind of goes into it. Looks like there's a little bit of water damage, not a lot, just a few of the first few pages, but oh, I thought there was something else in here. Let's see. Oh, it's just where it's water damaged. I thought there was more tissue in here. Yeah, it always bums me out when I see these old books so damaged, but you know, the pages aren't really stuck together, so yeah. Okay, enough rambling about that. Charles Dickens. This one had to do with a ship. I'm so sorry. I literally did look these up. Something about a shipyard, yada yada. When I read that, I stopped reading the description. So the deck that made me think of this book is Mindscapes. And I think mostly because there is one card in particular that is of a ship. Oh, look, it's right on top. I guess it's the Fool. So this made me think of kind of like Charles Dickens' time. Now this was a Kickstarter. It is a majors only deck. I thought I remembered reading that the creator had intended or had potentially intended to create an entire deck once this one had gone through, but as it were, I think it's Hay House, could be Rockpool, but I think it's Hay House picked up this deck, and he's in the creator's in the process of finishing the whole thing. So he said the majors will be the same. I don't know if like the outline, you know, the design of said card will be the same or not. I have no idea. But I think it's worth it to get the whole deck. That's Mindscapes by John A. Rice. And I'm pretty excited about it. All right, next. I have two books for this one. This was one I found in a secondhand shop. I went in for something else and almost left empty-handed because I couldn't find what I was looking for, but I saw this on my way out and I walked past it, and I don't know, something about it just made me go back, and I popped it open and I thought it was gorgeous. So it belongs to me now. Zoom out just a little. There we go. The end papers I thought were adorable. Little baskets of fruit. This is In and Out of the Garden by Sarah Mida. And I bought it just for the art. Copyright 1981. And the whole book is like this, where it's got just this tiny little image with like a little quote or a poem. And I just thought it was really cute. I honestly have not looked through it other than just to flip through. So I don't know if it's even got like actual information or if it's all just quotes and for fun. I have no idea. Oh, look how cute this little lady is. So this one sits on my shelf during the summer and gets put away in the winter. I don't know, I just thought it was cute. Okay, so I'm cheating, and I do have a second book for this. And this is The Painted Garden by Mary Wooden. Very similar concept. I don't know why I bought this, to be honest, other than the art is pretty. I think I intended actually to cut this one up, but once I got it in hand, I couldn't because it's too cute. And maybe I got this, maybe it was a suggestion when I was looking for one of these other books that I have, which we'll get to in a moment, but it's kind of like a little journal. Let's see. Shares the experience of 1 year in her enchanted English garden. Useful information, recipes, waterproofing boots. So it's like, you know, a year in the garden essentially. I just thought it was a fun little thing. This is something I would eventually like to do for myself. I just haven't yet. I would like to be able to draw my own flowers. Which, if you watch Jenny over at A Year and a Day, she recently shared a video of her drawings that I thought were so well done. It was inspirational. So that's that. And for these two books, I have the Botanicals deck. This one's relatively new to my collection. I went on and on about it a couple videos ago, so I won't go into too many more details about it. I love that it's got different background colors. And then each of them have a description on the back. And in case you didn't watch my last video, this one has a lot of witchy associations, which I thought was very cool and a nice surprise. There's a lot of folklore, rituals, recipes. So yeah, this was a quick favorite, especially because it was $10 on Amazon. So cannot beat that price for a big deck like this. I want to say, yeah, there's 70 cards in here. So I think this is my only gripe. That's a pretty big bow. I guess it helps if I have them all facing the same way, but not a deal breaker. The cardstock's sturdy, so it'll last. It's just not perfectly shaped, and I don't really care. That doesn't bother me. The guidebook is pretty basic, but you don't really need it because the description is on the back of the card. So, all right, next. We have The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady and The Nature Notes of an Edwardian Lady, both by Edith Holden. All of these are secondhand, so that, you know, there's some writing in some of these, but I don't mind that. It's 1978. That's really cool. I don't even know what this says. Remembering the many lovely hours spent at the Hart House. I don't know what this says. Anyway, love, Maggie. If you haven't seen this book, where have you been? This is another year diary from a woman who drew all of her own images, you know, all the own things that she saw on her travels in her garden, and little entries. There's poems in here. And she just talks about the mundane things that happen. Some of them is just, you know, 1 or 2 sentences. So that's that one. The second one is very similar. I do feel like there's a different concept between each. Also, couldn't remember if the first had end papers, but Okay, this one doesn't have her handwriting. It's just the typed entries. But it is a different year, so different entries, and still her artwork. So, and I think the significance of these books is that before I had the idea of what I wanted to do for my tarot deck, this is what came to me first. This is the artist I wanted to use in my cards, but because she is still under copyright, because her family still owns all the copyrights, obviously I couldn't use her art. But it didn't take me very long to remember John James Audubon. So, that's where the idea came for my deck. So yeah, this is still in order. I put it in order for some reason the other day. I don't remember what. But yeah, this was a fun find when I knew I couldn't use her artwork. So, a good compromise. Yeah. Okay. Next. Okay. Next we have The Monk by M.G. Lewis. And until this morning, I did not know what this book was about, and I didn't realize, despite this saying volume 2, that it's 2 of 3 volumes. So, of course, then I had to go on a hunt to look and see if I could find the first two, or the first and the second, the first and the third edition of this. Not edition, volume. There are 3 volumes. I have volume 2. I would like to eventually get volume 1 and 3, simply because this was a very controversial book in its time. It was published in 1913, and apparently it's about, again, I've not read any of these. I just looked it up this morning to see what it was about. I bought it because it looked like a nice book to have on my shelf for the Christmas season because it's green and gold. So it's about a monk. I guess he has an illicit affair, and there are quite a few spicy scenes in here from what Google says, and especially for its time, it was quite controversial, which makes me giggle. So the deck that made me think of this book, now that I know what it's about, is Tarot of Forbidden Dreams. Now I will say, content warning, if you're not comfortable with nudity or sexual type content, you'll want to fast forward. This one's quite spicy in like an old-fashioned kind of way, I guess. Let's zoom in just a hair here. I've had this for a couple of years. You can find it on Etsy. It is spicy. Quite. And so this made me think of the illicit affair of said monk in the book. I don't know. This deck makes me laugh. I don't use it for anyone else, obviously. I don't really even have a specific job for it. Mostly, I just pull it out to flip through it, if I'm being honest, because it cracks me up. It's just naughty. And it's naughty, but like, what, in an artful way? I don't even know if that's the right way to put this, because I mean, it's like raunchy vintage art. I don't know. And it makes me laugh. So it's a fun deck. The cardstock's decent. I was going to say it's kind of stiff, but I mean, I can't even. Regardless, it's a spicy deck. We're just going to finish flipping, because I know if you're watching this still, you're curious about all the cards. quite expensive. I want to say it's like $80 on Etsy. I will leave a link though, because it's kind of hard to find even on Etsy. I've actually favorited the deck to keep it favorited because it's hard to find just typing in the name of it, and maybe Etsy has done that on purpose, I'm not sure. The edges are gilded like a burgundy. The backs are very pretty. Quite detailed. But yeah, that's this. And Tarot of Forbidden Dreams. It's a fun one. Okay. Next, we have Depression and Other Magic Tricks. I don't remember why I bought this. I just recently bought this, like maybe a month ago. I think I was looking for poetry books to read, like to buddy read with a friend. So I'm not really sure why this popped up, but it did. And I thought the cover was kind of cute. Oh my gosh, my stomach is always growling when I'm sitting here. So very sorry. This is not a vintage book, but it looks vintagey. It looks like 50s, right? 2017. And it's just a little skinny book of poetry, and I have a couple others of similar concept that I bought specifically to tear up and use in my journal, because I like having some pages that are just of type, but I like them to be a certain theme, you know, or vibe. So that's what this is. The deck that I chose to go with this is the Guided Hand Tarot, because it feels very 50s vintagey to me. And the color scheme is kind of spot on, in my humble opinion. I mean, there's like 2 colors here, but yeah, it works. So, do a quick flip a few of these. This is a favorite. I would probably say probably a top 10. Did I have this in my top 10 list? I don't know. I guess that was a different video. Had nothing to do with the top 10. That was my random decks. Yeah, I would say this is probably, I don't know, maybe in my top 15. But it is good, and I enjoy it. I think too, I like it because it has all the different color backgrounds. That's a definite weakness for me. So that is the Tarot of the Guided Hand and Depression and Other Tricks. All right. Next we have Laura Ingalls Wilder, Little House on the Ozarks. Zoom out just a little here. This was one while browsing other used books I saw, and my middle daughter loves Little House on the Prairie, so I thought she would, I don't know, appreciate this book for what it was. I mean, I think it's journal entries, I believe. Like I said, I've not really read through any of these. This was meant as a gift for my daughter, but when they moved last time, they moved to a much, much smaller home, and she just didn't have room for all of the things, so I did tell her when I gave it to her, if she changed her mind and didn't want it, that I would like it. So it's now part of my collection, because I also love Little House on the Prairie, which is apparent because I still have this set from when I was a kid. I don't know, from like the 70s, I'm sure. I don't know, maybe it was the 80s. Let's look. But I mean, the artwork's just so sweet. So let's see. Oh wow, 1953? Maybe this was my mom's set. Did I know that? I'm grabbing my glasses. Interesting. I have no idea that it was this old. I mean, unless maybe it was 71. Harbor Trophy. Oh yes, okay, it's 1971. So, regardless, it's an old set. And it's one that pretty much always sits on my shelf. I just think it's pretty. The color's nice, and yeah. So here's the funny part. Here's the part where I think, do I have a problem And then I laugh and I say, of course you don't, Shanna, buy more. Okay, so this next deck, I have said multiple times that I don't care for a few of the cards, specifically one of the cards, so I've refused to buy it. I literally just typed those very words out yesterday on Carrie's video, Carrie Mystical Musings. Is that right? I'm pretty sure that's her channel. Anyway, I literally had just said, because she was talking about this deck I'm about to show you, and I said it just wasn't one I needed to buy. But as I was pulling out these books this morning and I found, these two things that had Little House on the Prairie, just that theme, I thought, I don't really have anything like that. But there's a local shop where I live that I knew that this deck recently went on clearance. So for less than I could get it on Amazon, I went to the store this morning and bought it just for this video, because that's the kind of problem I have, and I'm okay with that. Anyway, let's do a quick flip of these. I did open everything because I wanted to have the plastic off, but literally I opened it just before I started this video. So I don't mind that it's horizontal. I think it's quite pretty. It suits the deck, the theme. And I do kind of think that this might be a deck that, like, I don't know, when I'm 80, I might really, really like. And it is pretty. It's objectively a pretty deck. So overall, I'll be keeping it. The faces don't really bother me, which that's kind of a big issue for me. If I don't like the faces, I don't usually get it or keep it. This is the card. This just makes me uncomfortable. I don't like it. It bugs me. Multiple reasons. I mean, you could probably take a stab in the dark and guess, and probably be right. But while I was blow drying my hair, because isn't that when we do our most deep thinking, blow drying our hair or showering or brushing our teeth, I thought, if I put a witchy spin on this, I think I can work with it. If I don't cast this in the light that I think it was intended, and I put a witchy spin on it, I think I can work with this deck, which makes me happy, because this makes me think of what my oldest daughter might look like when she's like 33, 35, And every time I see the cover, this is the one that's on the box, I think of her. So, yeah, I'm glad I have it. And it reminds me of Little House on the Prairie. Like, that's Pa, right? This is beautiful. Yeah, no, I'm so glad I got this. I can live with that one deck. Or, excuse me, with that one card. Where did that come from? Weird. This just looks like their little church. They're in, what, Walnut Grove? So, yeah. This card reminds me, I have no idea what season it was, but it's one of the later seasons of Little House on the Prairie, when I think Ma and Pa went back to Walnut Grove. Like, they had left, the kids had grown up, and they went back, and, like, I don't know, everything was deserted and depressing and dirty and, wind blown, and I really did not like that season. I don't remember watching very many episodes in that season because it was just depressing. It wasn't really Little House on the Prairie anymore. It was just depressed Ma and Pa without kids show. And nobody wants to watch that. So, that aside, let's not leave that on the top. It's too depressing. So that maybe. Okay, let's do this. Nobody wants a depressing card on top when they go open up the deck again. Okay. Anyway. That is Pastoral Tarot. Next, we have the Low Road. Again, this is another one that I purchased just for its color. This felt very late summer, mulberry, that could lead into fall and potentially even Christmas. Just this kind of deep berry color. So I googled this morning what this is about. It's apparently a how-to guide on growing heather, which is very random. And there aren't very many pictures, which is unfortunate. But the pictures that are in here are pretty. And I thought, how weird to have a whole book about growing heather and have it only have, what, 6 photos? Or drawings, I guess. But like I said, I bought it for decoration. So the deck I would associate with that is the Hedgewitch Botanical. Simply because, you know, herbs. And is heather an herb? I don't think so. I don't even know for sure if heather's in here. Let's quickly flip and see. One would assume I would have already done that, but I didn't. Didn't really matter. I mean, this is, look how pretty. That's like the exact same shade of purple. So, no regrets here. I guess if it's not an herb, it's not going to be in here. So, regardless, that's the deck I thought of with this book. Okay, I've got a handful more here. Like 3, I think. All right, next. All right, I have 3 books for this one. The Art of Aromatherapy. I bought this because, let's be honest, I like a pretty end paper. You don't see that very often anymore, and I liked the artwork. It's very reminiscent of the first 2 gardening books I pulled out. And it kind of goes into aromatherapy, what herbs to use. I mean, that's kind of unique, you know? I would be surprised if there wasn't and actually we'll come back to this. I would be surprised if there wasn't a tarot deck, or excuse me, an oracle deck. Look how pretty. That was associated with this book. As far as I know, there's not. But it's another one that I bought mostly for aesthetic purposes. We're gonna leave that open. Oh my goodness, my dog. Let's ignore him. Okay, next is this is Swedish, I believe, a flower book. I don't know what it means, but this is the epitome of fall, right? Like, this is a perfect cloth-bound fall book to have on your shelf. And we get the same type images that Audubon had in his bird plates and as Edith Holden drew in her journals. So that's why I bought this. It's in a language I don't understand, but clearly there's a theme here in what I like. So yeah, and again, it's a pretty book. Lastly, for this one, this is a book I bought, I want to say, probably 10 years ago. I met a woman where I used to live. We used to walk together in the mornings, and she was very into aromatherapy and essential oils, all of that stuff, and she recommended this book. This particular printing is, I think actually was out of stock or not out of stock, out of print for a while, but I know there's a brand new version of this. I think it's been edited and updated and all of that, but I just like this old vintagey looking hardback, you know? And I've dog-eared a bunch of pages. It's an oldie but a goodie. It's got a ton of information. Let's look at the table of contents so you can get an idea. Basic care, travel kit. If I can turn the pages. It came to me this worn, and I'm okay with that. It's part of its charm. Occupational oils, which that's interesting. I think I'll come back to that. Beauty, sports, workouts, hair care, babies and children, cooking, gardening, there's pet information. And as far as I know, as far as I understand, this is like an official, you know, like you can trust what's in here. That's my understanding. Don't go do things without double checking on your own, but yeah, okay. So the deck that I would associate with these 3 books is Nature's Pharmacy deck. And this one I saw on Rose Honey Rituals channel a couple of years ago, I believe. At least a year, probably a couple of years now, yeah. She had it, and it was one of my first like eBay finds that I had to go and get. But look, that's like, what is this? This image is probably in this deck. Yeah, I went and found it out of print, so it was probably, I don't know, 40 bucks or something. I don't remember. Oh, it is. Look. So yeah, this one, okay. So this one I just had to have. Bought it in, love the images. Don't really have a clue how to use it until I've been binge watching Carrie's Mystical Musings, her older videos, and she had a video. I'll try to remember to link it. If not, and you're curious and you can't find it, comment and I will find it for you and link it. But she had a video on how to do like spell workings with decks, and I've been super curious on how to do that. Like, it seems pretty straightforward, but I didn't quite know where to start or what I wanted it to look like. So I watched her video, and she had so much good information in there. She, you know, walks you through a whole spell, essentially, like how she would have done it. And I think I can utilize this deck for that specific working. So, of course, as soon as I finished watching her video, I went through my decks and found a handful that I think will work well. And this is one of them, as I said. Again, we've got like the multicolored backgrounds, which I think is definitely a thing that I'm very attracted to. But, and then the backs, which is very similar to that first Botanical deck that I have. But this one, and it does talk about magical. Oh my goodness. Witchcraft. The first one I pull over, of course it says witchcraft, because why wouldn't it? I love it. It's a cool deck, and I think it'll be brilliant for spells and magical workings. So that's the deck I chose for these 3 books. Next, I have Bambi, which, you know, obviously is an old edition, because you just don't see this kind of book cover anymore. At least I don't. I've not seen one of these in ages. This, I believe, is a 2nd edition. Oh, I guess it's a first, I assume. 1929. But it's a beautiful book for myself. Oh my gosh. It's a beautiful book for my fall bookshelf because of the colors. There's only a few images in here. But the second I started thinking about this video and I saw this, I knew that the Thistledown, I mean, that's like, is that not perfect? I love it. Oops. So, in theme and in aesthetics, it's kind of perfect. I do love this deck. I recently pulled it out. It feels very end of summer. I guess there's a few winter themed ones, but I'll definitely be using this as the weeks roll on out of summer. I am so excited to get their Heartwood deck. we're just going to ignore my stomach in case you can hear that. I've actually eaten today. I don't know why it's growling. It's just doing it to be annoying, I guess. So yeah, that is Thistledown Oracle by Three Trees Tarot. I always say I'm going to link everything below. And I do my best, usually, unless I get lazy. If I forget something that you're curious about and you're not able to find it, do let me know. I'm always happy to help you find, you know, stuff that I've brought on the video. Okay, this is my last stack, but it's a big stack. The Music of Wild Birds. This is, I bought this because, again, I wanted to use it to cut up, which I have done, which kind of kills me a little bit every time I do it. But I'm like, you know what? I can probably just get another copy at another time if I really want to have this in my collection. The point of this book is that I guess you can play these notes, I guess, that the birds sing. But I just really like the artwork. And I enjoy adding it to my journal. And I felt like there was enough other stuff, you know, besides the artwork, that I didn't feel too bad about cutting it up. Because the other stuff, I'm not a musician by any stretch of the imagination, so those parts are, I'm not sentimental about those. But it's a hardback book. And beautiful. And it is reminiscent of Audubon's artwork. So yeah, that's that one. And then this is another that I found. You know, every year here where I live, they have a huge library sale, and they take all of their used books that I assume the library gets, that maybe people have donated, that no longer get checked out, and they go to, we have like a fairgrounds with like a huge gymnasium, and they have, I don't know, 40 or 50 tables, long banquet tables set up with books that you can go, and they're, you know, like $2 or whatever. And this one I bought, unfortunately it is very discolored because of sun damage, but the front is gorgeous and it's birds. So, and I tried to find this online, and I did find it, but I didn't find this exact edition, so I don't know. I guess it's second edition, 1938. And then this is basically a journal of a guy who goes out and watches nature things for a year. I don't think it's specific to birds. And there's no art, which again is fine because I just bought it for the cover. But I'll be honest, every time I see this, I get a little irritated at whoever let this happen, because look how pretty. It's unfortunate, but the cover is gorgeous. So sometimes, you know, I'll just like stand it on my bookshelf with this out, end of summer. So anyway, that's why I have all these books out, was because I was dusting this morning and starting to make a transition to like late summer colors versus, you know, the bright greens of early summer and spring. Next is this one. This one I did buy specifically for cutting up. It's all black and white images, so I haven't used it a ton. It's not quite, doesn't quite serve the purpose I had hoped it would. But it's basically like this, you know, a year-long, I think, journal that you can add your own journaling to, which the concept is cool. I just don't really love the black and white images. They're kind of boring. So I have been tearing out pages, just using like text pages. So, and I like that it references different months. So, you know, if I'm in May in my journal, I can pull out a page and have like a ripped text page that says something about May. So that's kind of cool. Did I write that? No. Why would I think that? Anyway, I think this is kind of like a, this is what you can use this book for kind of page. And then lastly, I got this from the library itself as a used book. Again, I bought it to cut out, which sometimes I do, but the pages are so gigantic that it's not terribly useful for journaling. Unless I fold them and use them as like envelopes or something, which is, I think, is what I've done up to this point. So yeah, those are all the books for this, and this is the deck I chose to go with it. Bird's Oracle. This is by who? Jessica Blaine Smith and Mia Emily Freeman. And, you know, for obvious reasons. I don't use this one a lot. There are no keywords, so it's hard for me to get much of a message out of. But it is one that I can potentially stamp keywords on. But I'm not sure I want to do that. And of course, I'm drawn to the fact that, you know, they're different color cards. I wouldn't say multicolored, but, you know, the black and the white. Cool concept-wise. So yeah, I surprised myself today by realizing that I do have a collection and that I kind of have a style. I didn't even realize I had. So yeah, I think that's it then, because those are my last decks and my last books. So thank you for joining me again this week, and that's all I got. So I will see you guys next week. See you then. Bye.